Yes. Yes, I'm shown as live, so cannot waste much time. We just have 30 minutes. So namaste to everyone. Welcome to my session. It's very nice of you all to attend. I can see some 42 people are here. I don't think that anyone is a stranger to the term namaste or namaskar, especially in the post-pandemic era. During the pandemic, we know the global leaders were all using this Indian form of greeting because they could not shake hands at the time. So welcome to my session. I will be talking a little bit about India's ancient civilizational wisdom, which is still very relevant today, where, in the modern world, there are so many distractions and demands. I think there is a lot of relevance to India's knowledge systems. So that's what I'm going to be talking about today. Ancient India was a very knowledge-centric society, and there were many ancient universities. If you go back thousands of years, the whole of India was covered with universities and different kinds of learning centers where many students came from different countries like Greece, Western Asia, China, Eastern Asia, Cambodia, Indonesia. Many students came to study from the Indian gurus. And at the same time, there were many Indian scholars who went out into the world. They went to all these countries, sharing their knowledge, translating Sanskrit texts into different languages. And in this way, a great deal of Indian knowledge was transmitted to the rest of the world. So today, I will not be talking about how the Indian knowledge of science and logic and other subjects, various disciplines, how they were all taken from, how they were transmitted to the rest of the world. I have written 2 books on this topic. But what I'm going to talk about today is the foundational idea, a few basic concepts of the Indian knowledge systems, which I think are very relevant. And the one thing we should remember is that the educational system of India, the way it was, the way knowledge was transmitted, both the Vedic system as well as the vocational training, all of this were informed by a big framework that came from the Vedas. The Vedas are the oldest texts in the world. And initially, they were all transmitted through an oral tradition. So the guru would teach to the students, students would teach to their students, and that way it was transmitted. And then at some point, it was all written down. So this was the Vedic way of learning. But then the knowledge and the concepts in the Vedas were informing all the other knowledge systems. So the other educational systems. So whether it was military training or whether it was vocational training, all of these were informed by the Vedas. And the knowledge of the Vedas was further expanded upon by various other texts, such as the Upanishads. Then came the Puranas, the Itihasas, as we call them, the Ramayana and the Mahabharata. And within the Mahabharata, which is one of the longest epics, or the longest epic ever written, there's a very, very important text called the Bhagavad Gita, which is full of amazing gems of wisdom, spiritual wisdom, which we can delve into even today. And so whatever I'm going to be sharing with you today, a lot of it is rephrasing of what's given in the Gita. The other concept, other thing I want to tell you is that all this is enshrined within within Sanatana Dharma, all that I'm sharing with you today. Sanatana Dharma meaning eternal Dharma. And Dharma, of course, is a very deep concept. Sanatana is eternal, and Dharma meaning the universal law or order which sustains the universe. So that is Dharma. And what I want to tell you, I just want to give you some 5 basic ideas, which I think you can use to navigate today's modern world. Because in today's world, we are all very stressed out. We have so much of conflict, so much of struggle. we have deadlines, we have social media, which is so distracting. The political news, ideologies. People are being torn. They are torn apart even within families because of the views and the opinions of people. And then we have, of course, the economic problems. We have constraints. So all this, to negotiate, to navigate life, we need to hold on to certain basic concepts. And I think this is where Sanatana Dharma, which is used interchangeably with Hinduism, it comes in very useful. So the first concept that I want to share with you today is gratitude. Be grateful from the very moment you wake up every day. So in Sanatana Dharma, we have ritualized gratitude. So, we all, of course, feel grateful for a lot of things in a general way. But, that is not very helpful unless it is put in the form of a ritual. So the way it works for us in Sanatana Dharma is that, all the entities around us, the natural entities, we are surrounded by nature, we regard them to be living deities. And the same thing with what is within us, because nature is around us and within us. So we regard them as deities. We personify them, and then we pray to them and we worship them and we are grateful to them. So starting from the very moment when we wake up every day, we thank the sun. So the Surya Devata is a deity, and we thank the sun for giving us light, for giving us sustenance. We know that we acknowledge that the energy of the sun is being converted into our energy and it is illuminating our mind. So we start with thanking the sun. Then when we wake up and sit up, we look at our hands. And then on our hands, we imagine the Devis, the Devi, the divine feminine. And we pray to them, we thank them, and we ask them to guide us so that we use our hands for good things during the day. Our whole hands, meaning the whole body, for doing good things. And then when we sit up and then we put our feet on the ground, then we say a prayer to Bhumi Devi, who is the living personified deity of the earth, the mother goddess, the earth goddess, as we say, Bhumi Devi. So we thank her, and then we apologize to her for putting our feet on the ground and leaving our footprint on the earth. So that is another prayer that is ritualized. We chant Sanskrit shlokas, apologizing to the earth goddess, saying that we are sorry for polluting you or putting putting our footprint on you. And then after that, when we go for a shower or we have a bath, then when the water falls on us, then again there is another prayer, another shloka. Shlokas are prayerful verses, Sanskrit shlokas, that we chant, wherein we invoke the waters of the mighty rivers of India, which have been flowing and sustaining India for thousands of years. So we name Ganga, Saraswati, Yamuna, Kaveri. We name all these rivers who are actually deities. They are devis, the feminine devatas. And then so you see, we don't regard water as a municipal service, something that we're just getting and we are paying for it. It's not that. So we are thankful for the water which is washing us, and we take it as a divine gift to us. And that's the way. And, when we do this, automatically what happens is we become we start loving nature and we are very thankful to her. Then at meal times, again, we say a prayer, thanking the goddess, the deity who gives us food. Of course, when we thank her, what we mean is we are thanking all the people who are involved in the process of getting food from the farm to the table. We know how difficult it is. Even during the pandemic, we saw how the supply lines were disrupted. So when we express gratitude for the food on the table, we are acknowledging all the people who are helping to get the food over there. So that is another way of expressing gratitude. So I think this is very important. When we are grateful and we express it in a ritualized way, as we do in Hinduism, then what happens is it takes us towards a minimalistic kind of living, because now you move towards sustainability. When we acknowledge the nature around us, we don't want to pollute it. We want to have a light footprint. And then it automatically takes us towards minimalism. And when we cultivate an attitude of gratefulness, then it also makes us very compassionate people. We are one with nature, and we are thankful and we are compassionate. We become more loving. So I was just watching a video recently of a lady who had undergone a horrific accident, and she underwent many surgeries, and then she couldn't go out for months and months together. She was confined to her bed. And when she stepped out of the house, and then for the first time after a long time, and when the sunlight fell on her arms, and she looked at it and said, "How could I take this for granted?" So this is the attitude that we have to develop, and it starts right from the moment we wake up in the morning. So gratitude is the first thing that I would like to share. The second idea from ancient Indian wisdom that I want to share is that you need to mind your breath. Now we hear mind the gap, mind the gap. When we go to airports, we are told mind the gap. When we get off from the train, we hear the announcement, mind the gap. I think that we should have some kind of announcement in our mind coming every now and then. Mind your breath, because it's the most important thing, the way we breathe. So it has been found that the lesser number of breaths you take, the longer you live. So if you look at the tortoise, the longest living animal, which lives for more than 100 years, it takes only 4 or 5 breaths in a minute. And if you look at the dogs, which don't live very long, they take about 40 to 50 breaths a minute. So it's very clear that when you breathe slower, then you actually extend your life. And that is the whole concept of pranayama that is taught as a part of yoga, but it's also a part of the knowledge systems of India. Now, dogs and tortoises, they are born in a certain way and they breathe in a certain way. But for us humans, we need to be trained. We can actually change the way we are breathing. And that is why we say mind your breath. To learn how to do pranayama, you need to have a trained teacher who teaches you how to do it. Then prana means breath, and ayama means extension. So how to extend your breath is something that can be taught. It's a branch of learning. And then the most important thing to understand is that prana is what is running the machine in your body. The breath that you take runs the whole machine in your body. So if you're able to control your breath, if you're able to grab that one thing which controls everything in your body, then you're also able to control your mind. You're able to bring your mind to a peaceful place, to a harmonious place. And that is why pranayama is extremely important. When you control your breath, you are free of, you free your mind from busy thoughts, and you are in a very compassionate and happy space. So pranayama. The third great idea that comes from Hinduism is you are not your body. You are not your nose, you're not your ears, you're not your hair. So one of the cardinal mistakes we make is that we identify with our body, right? And all the things that happen to the body, whatever the body is experiencing, we think that's the real us. But that's not true. We are just containers. This body is a container, and within it is what we call the Atman, what in Sanskrit is called the Atman, which is a conscious, the consciousness, that element of consciousness which is deep within us, that is called Atman, and that is imperishable, indestructible. And this is one of the basic teachings of the Bhagavad Gita. So the external body is perishable and it goes away, and then we occupy different bodies in different births. We in Hinduism, we don't believe that we just have one life. So we believe that we are in a continuum. We are being born again and again. And so we are in this body at this time. This is how we look. In another birth, we are going to be different. We might even be born as an animal or as a bird or anything else, maybe human as well. And of course, if you're born as a human, that's one reason to be very, very grateful, because you have the most powerful mind. So it's a very powerful understanding to know the impermanence of our body, because that makes us focus on what is important, what is really important, and it takes our attention away from what is not important. We do not focus on petty things, what somebody said to us, somebody hurt us. Those things are not important. So the contract we lost, the person who let us down, the exam you failed, all those things cease to matter when you focus on what is permanent in your life, what is impermanent in your life, right? So and then what happens is when you don't focus on your body, then it also means that you will not think of, accumulating a lot of things. You would not be wanting to possess a lot of things, because you know that these are ephemeral joys, the joy you get from things that you own. And you would then focus on nature, aesthetics, what gives you inner joy, right? Rather than collecting and hoarding things and displaying things. And you start focusing on what is your true nature, the real you. So it's really important to know that you are not your body. And at the same time, the other people around you, you know that whatever they're projecting externally is not really what they are, right? So you know that there is a real side, there's something which is real about them, and there is something that they're projecting. So you also become compassionate and empathetic when you know that you are not your body, and the others are also not really what they are projecting externally. There is something else which is deep inside them, and that is the real them, right? And now I come to the fourth idea. By the way, this is, if you have any questions, please type them. I don't see any questions yet here. Please type your questions as they come to your mind. And then at the end of it, I'm going to look at them. The fourth big idea is that what is called the concept of karma yoga in Sanatana Dharma, which is that karma meaning work. So whenever you do any task, you do any work, do it in the spirit that you are giving it, do it in the best way possible, and give it to a higher power. Present it as an offering to a higher power. That power can be, you can call it God, you can call it Bhagwan, or you can just call it as the supreme consciousness, universal consciousness, whatever. So you do your work to the best of your ability and then offer it to a higher power, and do not think of the consequences, the results of it. This is a very important concept that comes from my civilization. So, for example, you plant a tree, and you do all the hard work for planting a tree, and then don't worry about whether you get the fruits or not. And this can be applied to every sphere of life, every sphere of work. So whatever job you do it to the best of your ability, and do not worry about the results. I kind of think it's very liberating that, you do not have to focus, because it's not in your control. The only thing in your control is the work that you do, which you do to the best of your ability. The results are not in your control. A lot of factors are there which can make the results go anyway, and you should not be stressing out on that. And so take a farmer, for instance. He works very hard, to give up. He works hard, and maybe he gets a bumper harvest, beautiful, wonderful harvest. But after that, maybe a storm comes, a snowstorm comes, and then everything is wiped out. That harvest is wiped out. So the correct attitude for a farmer with who has karma yoga approach to life, he would say that I have done the best, and whatever happens next, it was not in my control, and I'm not going to be bogged down by it. That's the way it works. And this is a very important approach to life. And the people who adopt a karma yoga approach, negativity does not stick to them. So they will find that, once they do their work, they move on, they do a good deed, and they're not waiting to be thanked and to be extolled. They just move on and do the next good deed. And if anything goes wrong, even if they get abuses, they are not bothered about that. So what happens is, when you focus on just doing your work well and whatever is in your power to do, then negativity does not stick to you. And it's like, the analogy given in Hinduism is the leaf of a lotus. A lotus plant grows in the midst of water. And the leaf of the lotus should actually get wet, but it's right on the water. But surprisingly, the water just glides off from the leaf and nothing sticks to it. It never gets wet. And that's the way we should not be attached to the results of what we are doing. So when we do something, whatever the result that comes out of it, we should not be attached to it, right? That is the spirit. The fifth idea that I want to talk about is no selfless effort goes waste. So as I told you, we don't believe in one life. We have many, many lives. And so so suppose we start some effort, we start doing some work, and then we are interrupted, we die, then we move on to the next life. We actually will catch up with whatever we did in the previous life. That is the belief in Sanatana Dharma. So whatever is your deepest desire, you will catch up with that same thing, and you will continue with your effort in the next birth also. So no good effort, no selfless effort goes waste. So even if let's say I die today and all the work that I'm doing now gets interrupted, but in the next birth I will actually connect it to the same knowledge. I'll be connected. I will be connected. I'll uncover the same knowledge which is within my Atman that has not gone anywhere. So I will uncover it and I'll start working in the same direction. I may not do the exact same work that I was doing in my previous work, but I will go in the same direction. So this is a very important concept. So we need not worry about, okay, what happens when I die? All my work, it'll go to waste. Nothing goes to waste. So if you are selfless and if you're doing it with a very detached spirit, all that you do will be accumulated and you will keep adding to it. So whatever you learn, whatever knowledge that you get in this birth is actually not new knowledge. It is something that you're connecting within yourself. You're finding it within yourself, and then you're just uncovering it. This is a very important thing to know, because then what happens is that what you do is that we are taught in Hinduism to not have low level desires, because this believed in Hinduism that the last thought that you have at the time of death, the last desire you have, what you are thinking about at the time of death, will determine what you do in your next birth. It will lead you to a certain kind of life. It will lead you to a next birth. So during your life, if you cultivate this habit of gratefulness and having high level desires, the desire to know know yourself, self-awareness, because self-awareness is considered to be the highest form of knowledge, where when you try to find who you are, what you are, then that ultimately leads you to knowing the universe itself, because whatever is in the macrocosm is in the microcosm. So when you know what is within you, you will know what is outside you. So that is the knowledge that we should all be trying to gain. And then we should also be trying to help people and see, teach people, remove the obstacles for them, affirm people to the extent possible. So that's the way we move forward. And then at the time of dying, we will still be in that mode. And so the next birth also will take us to a good place. Rather than, if you're stressing out and you're worrying about material things, then your next birth also will lead you to the same kind of stressful life. So this is a very important teaching. To sum up, I have given you 5 wisdom teachings from ancient India. So I hope, I don't see any comment yet from anybody, but I hope you're all able to hear. So let me just sum up the 5 wisdom teachings that I gave today. 1, be grateful from the moment you wake up. Every moment of the day, be grateful. 2nd, mind your breath. 3rd, you are not your body. 4th, do every task like it's a delightful duty and you're presenting it as an offering to a higher power. And the 4th one is that no selfless effort goes to waste. So I hope that you liked what I spoke. And actually, it's a very oversimplified way that I'm presenting to you these concepts. If you go deeper into it, there are lots of nuances, but in this short period I had to present it in a simplified way. So please contemplate on these things. And even if these teachings are not from the religion that you are practicing, I think these are very relevant to modern ethos. So thank you very much. Let me see if I have any questions. Q&A, just a minute. I am now looking at my questions. Time is 50, just have 7 minutes more. Okay, so I am not seeing the questions yet. Are you all able to type your questions? Okay. I am not able to still see the questions yet, but I actually got a question yesterday itself, even before the session started. And this lady wanted to know from me whether the Hindu philosophy is actually advocating fatalism. This was a question that I got, because when I say that, accept what is happening to you and do your work, whatever you are supposed to do. Do not think of the results of what you are doing. Accept it, move forward. And so this lady asked me whether I was advocating fatalism. Absolutely not. Because in Hindu Dharma, it's not fatalism. It's about happily doing what you're meant to do, your dharma. You have to follow your dharma. And whether you're working for your boss, whether you're doing something for your family, you're doing it in the spirit of a delightful duty. And then you are offering it to the higher power. You do not worry about it. So that's not fatalism. And another question that I got, okay. That question is asking me whether the yoga that is being taught today in the yoga schools of the US, whether they are doing a good job of it. So, frankly, I'm not really very happy with the way yoga is being taught, because yoga is not just a set of exercises. So the way it is being taken, the Indian knowledge has been taken to the Western world. Yoga is just a set of exercises, stretching, breathing. That's not what it is. It's a way of bringing your mind to a state where everything, you do not, you're not judgmental. You are in a state of calm, and your mind and body are united. So there's a whole philosophy of yoga which also needs to be taught while teaching the yoga asanas, the exercises. That is not being done, and so we have all these different versions of yoga, like beer yoga and goat yoga and things like that, which is revolting. Hot yoga. This is not really what yoga means. Yoga is not just exercise. It's about changing the way you think, the way you live. So your whole life has to be led in a yogic way. And another thing I have a problem with is that whoever does a yoga is called a yogi. That's not right. Yogi is a very big word. So somebody who's doing yogasana is just doing some stretching exercises. That's it. So to be a yogi is a whole lot of detachment and giving up of worldly pleasures, right? So that is a very big word. I find that people who do yoga, take yoga classes, are being called yogis. That's not something that I find very appealing. I have 3 minutes more, and if there's any other question, please write. I am not able to. Oh, okay. So there was a step that I omitted, I guess, which was announce Q&A, which I did just now, I guess. So we still have 1 minute left, 3 minutes left. If you have any questions, please let me know. Okay, there are no more questions. So I hope you found these ideas of Sanatana Dharma useful, because this is something we live with. We are, a lot of us are not even taught about it in India, because it's there in the way our parents tell us that this is the way to live, and it just gets encoded. But yeah, I mean, if there's one thought that I want you to leave with, it is the fact that you are not your body. That's such a deep thought. Please contemplate on it, reflect on it, and bring that into your life. And that takes away pettiness, that ensures that your friends, your relationships are meaningful, and you're focusing on what is real in life, the real you, and bringing out your true nature. That's another very big focus of Sanatana Dharma, where you need to reveal your own true nature. Most of us are trying to be something else. We are trying to learn, to speak in a certain way, which is acceptable, behave in a certain way, which is fine. But then in that process, we tend to become very fake, and we do not focus on the real nature, the real, the elevated nature of ours. We tend to be at a very low level, just focusing on material wants and desires, pleasures, comforts. So when we go deeper into these concepts of Sanatana Dharma, we become deeper persons, we become authentic people. And I believe that it even helps you in your career, because when you are authentic, the way you speak, the way in interviews, everything, it'll appeal to people, and you will have meaningful relationships. So with this, I come to the end of my talk, and I do not still see any more questions. So I guess I have been crystal clear, and you have all got what I was trying to say. So namaskar again. Thank you very much.